welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Dee from City Girl Gardening. I'm here in hot South Carolina, zone 7B8A. I'm out here this morning, early morning. It's probably about 8:30 a.m. now, because I have a few projects that I'd like to get done in the garden before the sun starts glaring down on me and I have to go inside. It is a beautiful Sunday morning, and I'm going to get this done. Trying to get inside by 10:30 at least, so that I can hear the word from our pastor, who screams live on YouTube. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord, and it is our duty every Sunday to make sure that we're listening to the word of God from our pastor, and that our children are there so that we can discuss and talk about the word that we heard on today and discuss how we can use it in our everyday life. I'm out here in the garden. I'm going to install today some fencing and cattle panel to this 4x2 bed. I currently have some green beans growing in this bed. I think there are the tender green beans. I planted those a few weeks back. They have sprouted up really nice, and I will be looking to harvest from them in another week, 2 weeks or so. But what I'm doing is I'm preparing my beds for the upcoming garden season. I did have the tomato cage trellises throughout the garden, but I've removed them because I wanted to install some more sturdier trellises. And I've been looking online at different videos where the gardeners or the homesteaders are using the cattle panel. So I purchased a sheet of cattle panel. It was a 16-foot piece from our local Tractor Supply. I went down because I was moving it in my car. My husband was unavailable to put it into the truck. I cut it up there on the lot. I had plenty of room. I used my bolt cutters, and I cut the 16-foot piece into sizes that I needed for my garden and for the different beds. I've already installed some of the fencing and cattle panel into beds on the other side of the garden, but I have two pieces left that I needed to get installed. I ran out of the fence posts because I got to thinking I wanted to add a few more pieces of cattle panel to some of the garden beds, and so I did another order of fence posting, and I'm going to trellis those up, get those up and installed into the bed today. Again, I'm going to put it in this 4x2 garden bed, so you guys join me on the ride. I purchased, these are the 4-foot fencing posts. I purchased 3 of them. I have 2 pieces left of cattle panel, and I'm going to use this for one of the smaller pieces of the cattle panel, so I only need one of the fencing posts with the vision that I have in my head. I'm going to go ahead and lay this one here, or I'll put it back here on my chair where I have everything already set up. And I'm going to install these fence posts so that I can get the cattle panel hung in this bed. I haven't purchased one of the things, so I have my trusty hammer here that I'm going to use to install my fence post. The ground that I have here, it is fairly soft. When I installed this bed, I did put down layers of cardboard, but I think that some of the cardboard has broken down. This bed has been here for a year now, so I'm pretty sure everything has lost my words, but I'm thinking that everything has broken down up under here, so I should be able to nail this, hammer this down into the ground pretty good. Be careful with the hammer as you're nailing these things down if you don't have one of these post drivers. because you can, as you're holding the post, of course, you can slip and hit your hand. I've done that. It didn't hurt it really bad, but it was kind of sore and tender there. So definitely be careful as you are hammering if you don't have one of those fence post drivers. I will be getting one of those at some point, but really at this point I really wouldn't need it because I've already installed most of the fence posts with my trusty hammer here. So I'm not going to be installing any after I get these in. So, but it would be good to use for future use. You never know. That was a little crooked. Yeah, that's better. Yep, they look about even. And the piece that I am going to install is about a 4'2" post as well. Need to bring it in just a little bit. Pretty good down in there. again. I'm going to take these zip ties now. It's not installed perfectly, but it's perfect enough for me. I don't drive them necessarily too much down into the ground. I make sure they're down in there and they're sturdy and they're good enough for me, because I may decide that I don't want to trellis this and I don't want to have a hard time trying to get it up out of the ground. So I drive them down into the ground enough where part of the, I guess the lock piece that's at the bottom, part of it, not all of it, but part of it is in the ground to hold it and make it sturdy. And then I take my zip ties to make sure that they're secure enough onto the fence posting so that they don't fall off as my crops begin to trellis and grow up them. This bed, I currently have, as I stated before, some of the tender green beans in this bed, but I'm also going to be using this bed if I want to do some squash or if I want to do some cucumbers. And I also can use it because it's not very high for some of the determinate tomatoes as well as some of my peppers, so I can do different things with them, and so I don't want it to be falling over or coming off of the fence posting once the crops begin to grow and put weight onto the cattle panel. So I am going to use these zip ties that I have to tie them a little tighter around the fence posting. And voila, there you have it. I have installed the 2 fence posts as well as the cattle panels. I did have to pull it up, move it in just a little bit, because where I initially staked the other one, it was too short, and I could not securely put the cattle panel onto the fence posting. But I have them both installed. I have positioned the cattle panel onto the hooks that are on the fence posting, and then I have secured them additionally with some zip ties. It may not be the proper way to install the fence posting and the cattle panel for some, or technically of how cattle ranchers do it, but it is good enough for me and City Girl Gardening. I'm proud of it. I love it. This one's been installed. I have one more that I need to install. I'm going to go ahead and get that one done. Tune in. I want you guys to like, share, subscribe, comment, give me some feedback on this video. What would you like to see me doing out in the garden? If you have any questions of who I am and what I'm doing here in my backyard, we don't have a lot of acres. We just have a general fenced-in backyard here in South Carolina, in our home, and I have created my little own version of a homestead. As you can see back here in this corner over here, I have my it was a dog kennel that I purchased for my daughter, but she got her dog, so I use it now as my chicks grew bigger. Instead of purchasing a coop or building one or having one built, I use that as their home, and they love it. They do have a little smaller coop in there, but they're not using it now, so I put in some roosting bars, and they get up on the roosting bars. They have their feeders in there. They have a lot of room to play around, flock around, and do what chickens do. So I love it, but I've created my own version of a homestead. I have, I think, a total of 18 garden raised beds that I grow from. I have this plot here in the backyard, along with some planters that I purchased and I did have made using red cedar wood. And then I do have some of the black cow mineral buckets that were given to me, and I'm using those. I'm growing them using them along my fence. I have 6 of them so far, and they have squash and zucchini in them. And then I have 2 of the garden raised beds on side of the house. My yard gets a lot of sun. So here in South Carolina today, I think the temperatures are going to be in the upper 90s. Yesterday it was about 98, 99. So I'm definitely perspiring already. It's so humid and hot. There is a chance later of a thunderstorm, which is typically common when you're you're in a region where it's very, very hot, and then it's usually followed by a really big thunderstorm, which it kind of works in my favor. It works in my favor as a gardener with the rainwater and watering the garden so that I don't have to. But I have installed the cattle panel and the fence posting in this 4x2 bed. I'm going to get started on the other one that I have that I'm going to install a piece of cattle panel in as well. And thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment to my YouTube channel. I am City Girl Gardening 803. I'm Dee. Thanks. See you later.